Life is a workout, and Smoothie King is here to help you power through. Whether you're crushing morning miles or sprinting through back-to-back meetings, give your body the energy, protein, and power it needs to help you conquer your goals. Only at Smoothie King.
You seem to still be up there somewhere.
Maybe I am. There are flying saucers.
Supposing they're Martians or something in there.
Hey guys, welcome back to another Weird Wednesday. I'm itsasherz, and this is...
Tobias.
Tobias, how was your weekend? But before I ask you how your weekend was, I want to note, I was talking with one of our listeners, one of my friends, but one of the listeners of the show, and she was like, I love how I can predict Tobias's weekend every weekend. And then she did a perfect monologue of your weekend. So I'm curious, Tobias, how was your weekend?
Oh man, now I gotta switch it up. Nah, I'm just kidding. I'm still the same old boring Tobias I was last time. I don't know. I did what I always do. I worked on a bunch of weird stuff, got my outline and like sample chapter and stuff done for my next book, and so that's sent off to the publisher. Nice. Probably won't hear back on that until next month, but
hey,
you know, I feel good about it. Yeah, like it takes forever, but that's totally fine. Like a lot of people will kind of harp on traditional publishing, but I kind of like it, honestly. I like the structure of it. I like having deadlines. I work better with actual set deadlines that I can't constantly push back. I like that, it's less work for me, frankly, because it's a little bit more work up front, but they really do, at least this publishing company really does do a lot of the marketing and stuff for you. And I don't have to worry about, Emily needing to take time out of her day to make a cover or do all the layout and stuff, which she's amazing at, but she has other shit to do than like support like my crap, right? So that's nice. I'm excited to have that sent off. I feel pretty good about it. They seem excited about working with me again. So nothing's for sure yet, but I'll definitely let people know like once the official, like once there's any kind of official offer or contract or whatever. So that'll be cool. Like I want to write about high strangeness basically, and sort of looking at the connections behind phenomena. And I know that probably some of our listeners are like, oh, well, I mean, that's old news. Like you talk about that all the time. Sure. Maybe people who listen to this show or hang around us, like maybe they hear about that kind of stuff. But I promise you, most people outside our tiny weird circles, even if they are otherwise interested in any aspect of the paranormal, they do not hear about it. They're not super familiar with it. And I think there's a lot that could still be said. And I think there's a lot we could do to kind of bring it into the 21st century. So I think it'll be cool. And otherwise, I don't know. I watched some movies. I watched some documentaries. Yeah, no, I did. I didn't do shit this weekend because we had a crazy like flood come through. So I use that as an excuse to not leave the house, which was great because leaving the house fucking sucks. And I'm not going to lie. It does suck. I don't like it unless I'm getting to go do something weird or fun or both. And, like how often do you get to do that? Anyway, I just use it as an excuse to like not have to leave my house for anything. And so I watched a shit ton of horror movies. I just caught up on a bunch of shit. What the hell? I don't remember what the hell I watched. I watched one Australian movie about people, touching a embalmed hand and talking to ghosts. That was all right. Talk to Me. That's what it was. It was okay.
I haven't seen that one yet. Yeah.
It goes pretty hard. So like, I don't usually like ghost movies. I think they're the most boring of all horror movies, but this one was pretty decent. Like this one was all right.
Okay.
Yeah. And then I watched Freaky Tales on HBO.
Haven't seen that one.
I highly recommend it. That movie was fucking awesome. It's an anthology like movie set in 1987 Oakland, and it's just fantastic in every way, from like the synth soundtrack to like the way the anthology stories kind of intersect and bump into each other. Just all of it was great. There's a bunch of fucking Nazis getting fucked up. Like there's just everything you want in a movie. So that was awesome. And then, Clown in a Cornfield. Have you seen that yet?
I haven't, but I am interested.
It was all right. There's no nudity or anything, which, I know. I was just like, you call yourself a slasher? Like, goddamn. Like, what happened to us? We used to be a proper country, where you watched a slasher, there was going to be some nudity.
Right. But, I mean, I don't okay. I get it, I guess. I'm on this kick where I think that we are going backwards societally as far as sex is concerned.
People are becoming more puritanical. I will die on that hill.
Yeah. And it's like, what the fuck happens? What are we doing? This is the
ridiculous. Wrong way. Absolutely.
So, I don't know, whatever. I'm right there with you. But, if it's all right, it looked interesting. I would check it out. It sounds catchy and right up my alley.
Yeah, like it won't cost you anything to watch it on Shudder. So just check it out. Whatever. That was fun. There's a wrestling documentary series, which is my new favorite thing. I love, I used to love wrestling. Now I love documentaries about wrestling. And that's the natural progression. As you get older, you go from loving wrestling to loving documentaries about wrestling. But there's a new one. I think it's called like Unreal or something on Netflix, and it's pretty great. So I've been enjoying that. It's fun to see like the wrestling storylines and stuff. Like, okay, yeah, I mean they're super cheesy and they don't make any sense, but who cares? That's not really the point, right? Like, it's just not the kind of art that it is. But what I really find engaging, just from somebody who is generally interested in sports and who enjoys like working out and fitness and stuff, is watching all of the shit that actually goes into wrestling and seeing it from like the entertainer / like athlete's perspective. That shit I could fucking watch all day. Like that is just fascinating to me. Like all of the behind the scenes stuff. And so that, anytime I can find a good documentary that covers all that shit, I am super into it. It's
acting and stuff, like that's for sure. It's planned matches and things like that. Oh, yeah. However, those people are still fucking powerhouses. And, they will do the things that they do to the people on stage that they could do it to you. It's really dangerous. So.
Oh, yeah. There's no way to fake, like, getting dropped on a table.
Right.
You're getting dropped on the table. And, the table's made to collapse or whatever. But you still just got – all that does is change you, like, from you getting dropped 10 feet onto a table to getting dropped 10 feet onto a table that is, like, rigged to collapse.
Yeah.
Or, like, like, they'll cut it or something so it, like, collapses a lot easier. But you're still getting dropped 10 feet. And like that fucking hurts. Like you can get dropped like 10 feet on almost anything and it's going to suck ass. So like there's no way to
drop, but still.
Sure. But you understand my point. Like these stunts are hard. They take a lot of work and you have to be an athletic freak to pull most of them off. So there is nothing that is not impressive about what these people are doing. Like it is as cool to me as watching any NFL game or any other activity where people are participating at like the height of their athletic skill and talent. Like that shit is fucking awesome.
Can't do that shit. My fitness goals is to be able to do that shit, but right now I cannot, and I'm a long way from it, but
you'll get there.
We should all aspire.
We'll get you in the ring.
Yeah, one of these days. No, that's pretty great. I love that. So this week, it's funny because, you had your weekend at home. And so none of the things you mentioned were any of the things that our listener had named off. So.
Man. Yeah, I didn't play any role-playing games. Oh, I played some Talisman, with
There you
my
go.
wife, Emily. Now, that was recommended to me by our producer, Nate. And so I saw a copy on sale online and I bought it. And we finally got to play it because, again, we were stuck inside because it was going to be rainy all weekend. And it was pretty fun, actually. We played it while watching Labyrinth, which was a pretty good use of my time, honestly. I felt like it was a good use of my time. Oh, one other thing I should mention. I started doing some book research, and one of the things that I wanted to do, of course, I've got a list of books that I want to read as sort of prep and stuff. And so I picked up my old copy of Abduction by Dr. John Mack. And it's as good as I remember. And, I'm just like 30 pages in right now. I just started it again. And it's interesting to me that I don't know if I maybe forgot, or I just wasn't thinking about it, how even back in the mid 90s, when this book would have come out, like right off the bat, he is discussing concepts like a connection between alien abduction phenomenon and human consciousness, like right away, like immediately he starts. And this is, a world acclaimed fucking physician. And he is talking about this like right off the bat. And, he's talking about, he does this sort of brief pushback against people debunking like hypnosis, recovered memories, which I thought was cool. I mean, he obviously knows what he's talking about. And, he's a fucking doctor and I'm not.
Sure.
So yeah, he's talking about like regression hypnosis and all of this stuff and sort of what can go wrong and what's unlikely to go wrong. And he does make some good points. And I don't think that what he's saying is that like all regression hypnosis is flawless, but I think basically what his point was is, if you're doing it under like care of a physician or within like clinical parameters or whatever, then the chances for it to go wrong in the way that debunkers will claim that it will inevitably go wrong is honestly pretty low. That is to say, like the full on fabrication of memories as influenced by the hypnotist or whatever is not very high under controlled circumstances. And I could agree with that, I guess. Like that's fine. I just know that we have not portrayed a very positive attitude towards hypnotic regression in the past. And I don't think we were wrong to do so necessarily. Starting this book again reminded me that there is another side to that. And it's not all chuckleheads. Like there are some people who are very qualified to have opinions on this kind of thing. And I think, it's a good reminder to hear them out once in a while, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Well, and we were just talking about that book specifically on our probably our abduction episode, right? Which makes sense. And some of it's like you said it perfectly. The guy really actually is an expert in what he does. And so, he's an expert. We're not. But some of it is also a little outdated information, but it doesn't make it any less valuable going forward. So, even if something becomes outdated, we should definitely still intake it, especially as pseudo professionals, right? We're not degreed in these studies, however, we are trying to help facilitate the story. So we need to do a good job and do our homework.
My degree is in fucking English. I think you will remember. So I am definitely not a doctor. I'm whatever the opposite of a doctor is. Honestly, I think that we would both be surprised at how little has changed since like the 90s in ufology. I have a sense that not enough has changed to make this work be considered outdated. in probably
Yeah.
almost any way.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. Sorry. Speaking of books, I'm doing something really exciting. And I probably should have done it maybe not while we're in the middle of recording because I'm being rude right now.
Rude.
I'm being so rude. But what I'm doing is I'm creating a Google Drive folder for our Patreon members where, guess what? You guys will have access to a lot of books. How exciting is that? How exciting! Because guess what? I did find the Kelly Cahill for last week Encounter book, and I did download it, and I did upload it there, and guess who will be able to read it? Our patrons.
Very good.
So anyway, so I almost forgot to do that, but I want to do it before this episode comes out. So now it is officially on there. So guys, as little as here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna cut you a deal. I'm going to add it to our lowest tier, $2 a month tier. So not only will you get ad-free episodes, with On Wednesdays We Talk Weird, you're also going to get access to a bunch of books that you're not going to be able to access. I have 2 rules. Here's my rule. Number 1, the book has to be out of print. And number 2, the author has to be dead. In this case, Kelly Cahill, as far as we know, she's not dead, but the book is out of print. So other than that,
she's out of the limelight. Like she's not, you can't contact her. So.
Right. So she's not losing anything. Support, your small authors and things like that. I want to encourage you guys. So I'm not going to put everything on there. However, Gray Barker's whole library is going to be next. I'm determined to find it. So
nice. I have some that I could probably add, frankly. We'll talk after this. And
I'll send it to you.
Yeah.
But yeah, $2 a month, patreon.com/Wednesdays Talk. Sick of the ads? Well, come over and listen to it ad free. Want to read a cool book right on your phone in digital format? $2 a month. I mean, that's almost the library. I mean, the library's free. You should always go to your local library, but
sure,
they're not going to have out of print stuff. Just saying.
They might not. Yeah.
Sorry about that. I'm being rude. And I think John Mack is also dead now, so I'm pretty sure we can put abduction up there.
If you can find it. I don't know. I have a copy from the 90s that I am reading. And I'm not scanning it, so
looks pretty good. Well, we'll figure it out. Anyway, sorry. Like I said, I was being rude during your discussion, but I did the thing, so that was important too.
Yeah. Fair enough.
I guess my weekend, right? I should talk about my weekend. We have a lot to get into this episode. So I will get through it. I watched all of the new King of the Hill, all of it, all 10 episodes.
Oh yeah, I watched those too. That was pretty good.
So good. I really my biggest complaint, and I'm not spoiling anything. If you haven't at least gotten to this point so far, it's been out for a week. That's your own fault. Sorry. My biggest complaint about the entire show is that Hank Hill is now a soccer fan. That's hard to believe.
Yeah, that was weird.
But, he's made a lot of changes over the course of 14 seasons. And the stance I'm taking is that if Hank Hill can change, so can I. So I can accept it. But other than that, I mean, really, that's it. And if that's my biggest complaint, like, you guys are in for a treat if you haven't checked it out yet. Definitely check it out. So.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And then it's back to school week, so I'm doing a lot of like parenting things, and that's not fun to hear about. But it is. It's
Correct.
Back to school week, so that's basically what I've been doing. That's all I've been doing. And then catching up with friends. Trying to do things like, pick up the fucking phone and call people. Listener, when was the last time you picked up the phone and you just fucking called somebody? Well, let me tell you.
Years.
Right. Well, do it. Just do it. Look, worst case scenario, they don't answer. And then they never call you back again. I mean, whatever. That's fine. Call somebody else. Chances are the people that are excited to talk to you and like to have you in their life, they're not going to be upset that you called them just to chit chat. And I had very good success with that. So, give that a fucking try.
Okay. I mean, I'm not gonna, but other people should for sure.
Pick up the phone and call someone. You got homework this week. If you're not a Patreon, sign up for the Patreon. And then number 2, if you haven't called anybody in a while, call them. And they'll be excited to hear from you. I promise. It's always a good time. So yeah, that's it. That's my weekend.
Okay. Very, very good. Excellent weekend.
All right. Our weekly shout out this week goes to my friend Theresa. Theresa runs,
Okay.
she has a blog. It's Theresa's Haunted History of the Tri-State. You can go find the link in the description, which obviously she primarily focuses on West Virginia, Ohio, and Kentucky. Theresa is a West Virginian, native. She lives there, and she writes about all kinds of fun stuff in that general area. So go check out Theresa's work.
Okay. Well, fucking check that shit out, you guys. God.
Check that shit
Shouldn't
out.
even have to tell you this.
Right. You should already know. But in case you don't, check it out.
Yeah, fair enough.
And I have one news. So
Okay, good. I don't have any news. I'm too fucking busy working on books and shit. I feel like I just have not had time to do a lot of newsing lately.
it'd be like that sometimes. Sometimes the news just isn't newsworthy. It's just the way it is.
That's fair.
A Danish zoo has gotten people in an uproar by posting a Facebook post requesting that you send them your used pets for food for their animals.
What? That can't be real.
It is real. I didn't believe it was either at first, but it is. It's right on their website. The Aalborg Zoo. I don't know how to say it, y'all. I'm not Danish. But they made a Facebook post saying that, people could donate their pets, pets that they were at the end of their life or needed to be put down or whatever, so that they could, quote, gently euthanize them and then feed them to the zoo animals there. Couple of caveats with it. They do not take dogs and cats, but they will take chickens, guinea pigs, rabbits, and horses. They do offer you to go with them during the euthanasia process. So it's not like they're like, oh, just drop it off here. It's the last time you see them. If you want to, and then they will feed them, to the animals. People are very upset about the whole post. Now, the whole post, the way it's translated is just, hey, bring us your pets and we'll euthanize them and we'll feed them to our animals. It doesn't really go into details about the nuances involved. But if you go to their website, you will see those nuances. It is shocking at first when you read that, right? Bring us your pets and we'll feed them to our animals. But it's not as bad as you guys think. And I know that you hate this. I know people hate this. But the reality is that if you like, lions and tigers and bears, oh my, they have to eat too. They're not going to go vegan anytime soon. They shouldn't. That's animal abuse. This is very much the cycle of life. And, if you are not terribly attached to, getting your animals' remains back in any type of way, it's not like they're feeding them live. I don't think this is that bad. I don't think it's as bad as people think it is,
Yeah. No, I hear you. Of course, we're going to have an emotional reaction when it comes to talking about our pets or any other loved one, frankly. That's what they are. Let's face it.
Sure.
So I get why people would react that way, because my gut reaction, of course, is to be like, if you want my fucking dog, then you better come and get him, and you better be fucking you better come armed, because you're about to get fucked. But obviously that's not what they're saying. They're also not accepting dogs and cats, which makes me feel a little better, I guess. But horses are basically just giant dogs, in their intelligence and temperament. And so it's not unusual for people to get, really close to a horse, because again, they're like dogs. They're smart and loyal and friendly and shit. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know that I would do it. But I don't know that I would condemn somebody else for doing it. That's definitely like their choice. What's weird to me is, what the fuck is, like, where was this at? Denmark? What the hell? Like, where are they?
It was a Danish zoo.
Oh, okay. So, like, what the fuck are they doing where they can't afford to feed their animals?
Yeah, that part too. I don't know if it has to be, right? Some type of way to cut cost, because why else would they reach out to the public for this? I mean, it's completely voluntary. Like you said, Tobias, if somebody else does it. Look, euthanasia is expensive. And then doing something with that body afterwards is also expensive. It costs me like $500 to put my cat down. And I get that people don't just have $500, and so that might be a better option. So all voluntary, that's fine. But no, I agree with you. Why are they having issues getting animals to feed their animals? Like, maybe somebody should be looking into that a little bit. I don't know, who knows? Maybe somebody just posed this idea and thought it was a way to also, like I said, help the community with end-of-life expenses, because there are no expenses. As a matter of fact, you can actually get a tax write-off because of donating your animal to the zoo. Yeah, and so there is some type of, you don't actually get a payment, but you do get the tax deduction, so there is some type of incentive that you get. I'm not sure exactly. It's just a very strange story in general, but I don't hate it. But, I went down this rabbit hole kind of recently, and this is kind of going off on a little tangent here. I always kind of wondered, like, what do they do with giant dead animals, right? Their elephant gets too old and it dies. What the fuck do you do with an elephant? Like, how do you...
I don't know. Don't blow it up, because that just makes a huge mess. Whatever you do. Remember that from the whale? Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. Everybody knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. Well, exactly. I mean, we've got places that do have large, like SeaWorld is still around. They still do have animals. They shouldn't, but they do. What the fuck do they do with a whole orca when it dies? What do you...
I think they probably just sell it to billionaires who eat it. That sounds like something billionaires would do, though, right?
They probably do. That's probably the real answer. What do you do with the giraffe?
Same thing.
Yeah, the
billionaires fucking suck. Like, they'll eat anything. Like, they don't give a shit. They're probably like, oh, look how exotic this fucking giraffe steak is.
Well, I found out what they do with them. They bury them all in a giant pit. This is typically what happens. Your mileage may vary per country, but in the United States, they'll have like a giant pit where it's just like a mass grave that they dump all the animal bodies into, and then they go in. Yep, and then they go in every little bit, and they will go in with like an excavator and like turn it, and kind of mix it around into the soil, and yeah, it's like a real.
But how do their souls get to heaven if they're all mixed up like that?
Well, I mean, they just merge together into one big soul. And
this one giant animal soul, that is terrifying if you think about it. It just has like a million faces and arms and fucking tentacles and shit.
Random giant necks and trunks everywhere. Yeah,
it's just screaming at you in random fucking animal sounds all the time as it slowly approaches. Yeah. Inexorably, like you can't outrun it. It's a ghost. It's not going to get tired.
Well,
it's going to catch you.
You ever been to the zoo and there's a fog? That fog is the souls of all the animals in the berry pits in the backyard of the zoo. But right. Yeah, sometimes some of them will go in for like autopsy, or some of them will get donated for scientific purposes. And in that case, if they have to, what they'll do is they'll cut them up and send it in parts to where it needs to go, because that's really the only way you can do that.
That's the only way you can ship an elephant. Yeah, probably.
Yeah. Right, is to cut it up and send it. But for the most part, yeah, they all just get dumped in the pit. So that's something that you now know.
I don't want to know that. Take it back.
So that's a
I want them to have a nice little pet cemetery where each of the animals gets a little headstone. I feel like we could do that. That's not that big of an ask. We don't have to just throw them all in a giant pit like they're fucking garbage, They
might have like a memorial area of some sort. I'm not sure. I mean, you got to remember these zookeepers, they get close with their animals, as much as we love our animals. Yeah, they get close with theirs. So, I'm sure there's some type of, humane practices in grieving and stuff that's involved for the workers. But again, your mileage varies on where you're at, what zoo you're at specifically.
Right.
I think that if they have close enough keepers and they're interested in keeping, I think they could cremate either the whole thing or parts of it, and then they can take some of the ashes or all if they want to. Fucking
That's
how?
a good way to go.
What would you put elephant ashes in?
I don't know. Bathtub?
Like, here's your fucking elephant ash bathtub.
Yeah, just put some glass over the top of it, and it's no longer a functioning bathtub, but it is, an art installation piece in your bathroom. That'll be the talking point of your next fucking dinner party. So you got that going for you.
Like, where's your shower? How do you? Well, that's what the other bathroom's for. This is my elephant grave bathroom.
Right? Like, what do you think I am? Some kind of Philistine? I have more than one bathroom. Good God.
There's my favorite, Trina, kept right next to the, Mr. Bubble. She loved him. Anyway, that was my news for the week. How exciting.
Wow.
Exciting.
All right. Well, that was news. Nobody can say it's not.
You're welcome. So moving on to equally as ridiculous topics, let's talk about miracles. This is
why
a strange.
Are those ridiculous?
Well, we'll get into why they are.
All right.
This is a kind of a strange topic, and I didn't really know which direction to take it because a miracle comes from the term miraculous, right? It is something that is, beyond modern science that happens that we can't readily explain without some type of divine intervention. But we've kind of touched on this a little bit before. I think specifically when the church decided that they weren't doing miracles anymore, right? They weren't owning miracles anymore. So I really wanted to take the time and go over some of these miracles specifically in Catholicism and what that looks like. And let me tell you guys, before you go, oh God, I didn't realize this was going to be a church episode. Catholicism's pretty metal, and you're really going to enjoy some of these. So you definitely want to stick around and check that out. Tobias, how familiar are you with the Catholic Church and their idea of miracles?
Oh, I don't know specifically the Catholic Church and their idea of miracles. I mean, pretty familiar overall. I definitely grew up with reading about the Shroud of Turin and weeping statues of the Virgin Mary and the miracle of the sun at Fatima and all of that kind of stuff. I definitely grew up with all of that. I am more interested in the kind of small personal miracles that people will report sometimes. There was an interesting case out of Utah a few years back, and I would, if we have time, we should get into this because it's a really interesting case. But there was a case out of Utah a few years back where a mother was driving with her young child and got into an accident. It was a single car accident, ended up off the road in this river, and the mother died on impact, and the car wasn't found for, 12 or 14 hours. And it was upside down in this river. And so some passerby sees it. They of course call emergency services show up. And, their immediate thought is that nobody could have survived this. There's, this is a body recovery action at this point. But they say when they started to wade into the river, they heard somebody inside yelling for help. Well, and that really spurred them on. And then they went much faster and with a greater sense of urgency and really got in there. But what was interesting about that is the mother, again, died on impact. And so she would not have been capable of calling for help. And the child was far too young. And it's just a fascinating case. And it's one of those cases that people point to as a miracle, because that's what a miracle is basically anything at all that seems to defy our understanding of materialism and how the material universe is supposed to act that we then ascribe a supernatural origin or cause to is technically a miracle. Now, just because that often takes on a religious connotation doesn't mean it has to. That's just how we tend to organize things, because we have our own personal biases, we have our own like paradigms into which we try to fit all of this weird shit when it happens. But it doesn't have to be, especially doesn't have to be specific to any particular religion, because if you just want to go down like the road of religious miracles, they all have them. Every religion has miracles.
They do. They do. So miracle is basically the adopted word by the church that just means paranormal. It just does.
Yeah.
And, that's kind of what we're going to do today is sort of bridge that gap and show you guys that, just because, it's got religion into it, doesn't mean it's not interesting or worthy of study. I guess the reason why I personally for this episode put heavy emphasis on Catholicism is because, to be quite honest with you, they fucking do their homework,
Okay.
In order for them to deem something a miracle, it can sometimes take years of an investigation to go, yes, this was miraculous. Let's go ahead and add it to the list. But they do, God, Tobias, they do what you and I wish we could do. They have a whole fucking team of people, and not just people, but experts in sciences and nature and biology and stuff that really comb over these events and conclude that there is no natural known reason for this to have taken place. Therefore, it is a miracle. It defies current known science. And so, so there really aren't as many Catholic miracles out there that you would think that they are, but I kind of split them up into different categories. And just because it is recognized as a miracle by the Catholic Church doesn't mean that it's not equally as important to the type of research that we do and to the general, paranormal enthusiast, because it is. And we'll get into that. Getting my list pulled up now. I agree, though, that miracles outside of Catholicism are also super interesting, and I did not pull any specific cases outside of that group, just because there were so many in this group. I just kind of ran out of time. But
Sure.
Tobias, if you have some, we can definitely, take a little detour in the end as to what other miracles, like the one you mentioned. That's a great story, because they're really...
I have so many of these, and they're like mostly based on just articles I've written over the years, odd reports that I've been interested in, frankly.
Yeah. Stuff that shouldn't be possible, but is. We'll definitely get into that. So I'm going to start off with, probably the most boring ones until, we kind of ramp up. So obviously the requirements for a recognized miracle is that it's attributable to divine power and it's beyond the abilities of nature. So it can't be potentially man-made or potentially just a natural miracle. It has to be an intervention by God himself, as the Catholics would put it, in order to be that way. So let's start with stigmata. And we've kind of touched on stigmata a little bit, and this may be one that eventually gets its own episode because it is really interesting. Stigmata is when a regular person, most of the time it's women, end up kind of taking on the same wounds as Jesus Christ himself. So wounds in the hands, wounds in the feet, wounds on his back where he was carrying the cross, wounds around the head, bleeding from the eyes sometimes seems to be a thing as well. Stigmata is kind of a really controversial topic because only 7 cases of stigmata have been officially recognized by the Catholic Church, and none of them are modern. So they kind of predate this, super heavy investigative side of Catholicism because, a lot of people just kind of took your word for it back in the 1200s. So what are you going to
Right.
do? I did not pull up any particular cases of stigmata just because it is tough to wade through. Because I wanted things that were backed by science. So when I did pull up cases, I wanted them to have some, hold a little bit of weight. And again, like I said, stigmata is really controversial because even though there's modern day cases of people claiming stigmatic features, they're not necessarily stigmatic because it still could be explained away by them doing self-harm or having specific, cases of medical issues that do cause this kind of stuff or, mental illness or, what have you. So,
Right. I
Tobias,
mean, that's kind of the difficulty of it.
yeah, I mean, I was going to say, what's your take on stigmata?
I can't hear that word without thinking about Amelia Kincaid dancing to Bauhaus's Stigmata Martyr in Night of the Demons.
Yeah,
That's
nice.
always the first thing that comes to mind. It's amazing. It's a great scene. If you haven't watched the original Night of the Demons, which, when did that come out? That came out in 1988. So if you have not seen the OG, the remake is hot garbage. Don't even bother. If you have not seen the 1988 Night of the Demons, starring not just Amelia Kincaid, but also fan favorite like Scream Queen Linnea Quigley, I will not pass up any Linnea Quigley movie. You know that's going to be a good one. Then, maybe finish this episode, whatever. Take a bath, read a book, light some candles, whatever. But then absolutely rush out and watch Night of the fucking Demons because it's amazing. And then you'll know exactly what I'm talking about because that is a pretty baller fucking scene.
Agreed.
But yeah, right. Otherwise, in terms of stigmata as a phenomenon, I mean, I think that this is what most people conceive of as a miracle when you say that word.
Yes.
Is specifically religious coded phenomena. So, like, stigmata or weeping statues of Jesus or the Virgin Mary or Jesus appearing in somebody's fucking toast or something. But like something specifically religious coded. And I think we both probably disagree with that. I don't think that's how people should approach the word miracle, but I do think it's what people expect. So I guess you have to mention it. When it comes to it as a phenomenon, I mean, I think you pretty much said what people would guess my opinion to be, which is I don't trust a ton of it. So I think when you're talking specifically about religious miracles like stigmata, like you run the risk of bias coming into play, because people will apply like their specific narrative or a narrative colored by their preconceived, notions of what would be behind something like that. Like their pre-existing belief systems will color the experience. And when really you're talking about something like stigmata that is so overtly religious, like mimicking the wounds of Christ, then I do think you have to consider all of the stuff that has been mentioned. I do think you have to consider people self-harming and mental illness and all of this other stuff that would make it all but impossible to actually show that something like stigmata would be truly miraculous and not the result of somebody, more or less wishing it into existence because of their religious beliefs.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree with that. I mean, again, this is why, like I said, I'm starting off with what I consider the most boring and the less likely, but not necessarily not likely at all. Just there isn't real good evidence for this being a real phenomena. Yeah. Not to say that my mind can't be changed because there's definitely a lot weirder shit on this list. I promise you. Stigmata, believe it or not.
Also, when it comes to things like stigmata, something that I think supports the idea of what we're talking about is just the wounds themselves. Like people will often report them in kind of the wrong place. Like they'll have them going through their hands instead of their wrists. Now there's some argument about what would have been more common in crucifixion. But or one big giveaway one, I think, is they might show the spear wound, like that wound from the Roman soldier. But again, like it's difficult to reconcile that because we don't know that it actually happened, or that it happened that way. And so, or, like they might have it on the wrong side or something, but I guess we don't really know what side it is, but you can't have it on both sides, right? Like it had to be one or the other. So yeah, I don't know. It's difficult, I think. And because of that, we can just never be sure. I don't know.
Yeah. So, moving on, that's stigmata. There you go. Don't come at me with, but what about the blah, blah, take it up with the Catholic Church. They didn't recognize them, so maybe you shouldn't either. Just saying.
Well,
just saying. I don't make the rules.
Yeah.
I'm not the freaking Pope. Levitation. Levitation is one. This one, I, again, didn't really have any specific cases for, but mostly because we see levitation outside of Catholicism a lot in the paranormal, right? Think of almost any ghost movie that you can think of, and somebody is lifted up off the ground. I mean, that's just like it's a trope in the paranormal to have levitation be involved. You know, but of course, levitation is also a part of this because we can't fly or float unattended, right? Nobody's perfected that yet, unfortunately. I remember when, my God, so cringe, but I remember when Chris Angel was becoming a big thing and people were like, oh my God, he can float like Jesus. And
he's the mind freak.
The fucking
he freaked all their minds.
He had those old women clutching their pearls because he dressed scary. He wasn't the next Jesus. He was the Antichrist.
A man wearing eyeliner? Satanic.
Definitely satanic. Certainly the devil. Yeah, I mean, that is one of the things that I always think about whenever I hear levitation. We know that Chris Angel is an illusionist. It is his job to make you think he's doing something magical, but he's not. It's no matter how tight his pants are,
And they were tight.
I would like to maybe get in them one time, but then never call him back again. I mean, just saying. I get it.
Settle down.
But I couldn't listen to the man talk for more than 10 minutes. I'll tell you that. I'd be like, shut the fuck up.
Fair.
But anyway, that's what I think about when I think of levitation, or I think about, The Exorcist, right?
Oh, sure. Well, I mean, it's been a commonly reported phenomenon alongside things like poltergeist activity, for instance. Like forever. As long as there have been stories of poltergeist, there have been stories of people being levitated. And you're right, like in a more overtly religious context, demonic possession. You might see levitation being portrayed. So, I guess there's some precedent. It's not the first thing I would think of when somebody mentions a religious miracle, just because it's so widespread throughout every aspect of the paranormal. Otherwise, everybody from like alien abductees to people who live in haunted houses talk about like their stuff being levitated or them being levitated. So it's just super common. Everybody's being levitated constantly is my takeaway.
All the time, all around you. Tobias is doing it right now on his own.
Absolutely. You can't see me, but I am. Yeah, I'm freaking your mind right now. Just trust me.
He's going to go by mind fuck instead of mind freak. That's what
That's right. It's because I'm a grown up. Yeah. Chris Angel's just a little baby. He can't even say fuck. Grow up, dude.
He didn't go to school he didn't get a degree in fucking English, so he's not allowed to say it.
That's right. He got a degree in freaking English.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I agree. Levitation is not something that comes to mind immediately, but the reason why it's on the list is because Jesus levitated, and a lot of the miracles that they have are like things. It's just like copying what Jesus did. So, I mean, just being a poser, I guess, is what it is.
Copying everything Jesus did, other than loving everybody. Yeah.
Right, with your fucking wounds and your fucking levitation.
Yeah. That's classic Christianity. Let's copy everything about Jesus other than how he treated people.
Other than how, yeah, exactly. So there's that. Next one on the list I've got is and this one, I kind of like it just because of the name, but it's a lot lamer than it sounds. The odor of sanctity. The odor of sanctity.
The odor of sanctity. I feel like that is a specific flavor of like bathroom spray.
Yeah.
That you could get. It's the odor of sanctity. Like, oh man, I had some bad fucking tacos last night. I gotta grab the odor of sanctity to cover up whatever is coming out of me today.
Or I'm hosting, Thanksgiving at my house. I better break out the odor of sanctity for the guests.
That's right. Really class it up. You got to class the joint up.
The odor of sanctity is what happened. So there are reported cases where a saint will die. And most of the time, so far, it's been two notable female saints. I did not put their names down, but two women who have died. And instead of their bodies emitting a horrible, awful odor, it emits the odor of like flowers, like roses, like it's pleasant. Which is really interesting. Now, this one is getting a little more, holding a little more water now, because they've actually taken some like little samples from these bodies and have sent them to labs to be tested. While they test normal, the scientists that have taken them and tested them do also confirm that the smell you would not imagine came from a rotting corpse, because it does smell nice. So that is cool. I hope that happens to me when I die. That'd be cool.
Me too.
I imagine
that's stinking up the place.
I imagine that's what the zoo body pit smells like.
The odor of sanctity. I hope so.
Because all animals are saints, of course.
That's right. They're innocent. They deserve better than a pit.
They do.
But that is interesting. I like the miracles of things like incorruptibility, where a saint will die, but then their body just doesn't rot. They just, if anything, they just become a little desiccated, but otherwise are fine.
Yeah, we were going to talk about that one.
Kind of stuff. Yeah, I know. I fucking ruined it. I always do.
But that one's really cool.
I don't. It is really cool. But yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. I couldn't say obviously definitively, but I would be interested to learn about some kind of, I don't know, like what could be introduced to a human body that would make it smell good after death.
It's got to be a chemical reaction. It's just, we haven't seemed to find out what that is yet.
Yeah. Well, regardless of what they say, I have a hard time believing that any religious organization is working that hard to disprove miracles. I think that what it is more than anything is just making sure that the miracle can't come back to bite them in the ass. So they have to at least be like, oh, okay, well, nobody is going to be able to come up with a super easy explanation for this later, and it's not associated with anything controversial. So it's fine. It can be a miracle,
Well, it does seem to also have like a little divot in the story as well. There's a little extra, and that little extra piece seems to be people that report going to these saints' graves or burials or where they're at, or going to sacred places, based on the saints or whatever. They also catch a whiff of these pleasant smells, while in those areas. And again, that's not something, Catholics, that's special to you. mysterious smells are something that are just inherently paranormal. Again, there's a lot of people with a lot of reports about something. Tobias, you have an experience like that, don't you? You have a smell story.
Do I?
I thought you had a smell story with
No.
somebody. Maybe you don't, and I'm just misremembering. But a lot of
I
people
think
do.
you're thinking
Like,
of something else. Yeah,
like,
no,
oh,
it's definitely a real thing.
yeah,
It's common in hauntings for people to smell like perfume or cologne
smoke.
or tobacco. Yeah, things like that.
Yeah.
I love the idea of somebody catching a whiff of flowers at a graveyard and thinking that it's a fucking miracle and not that you're at a goddamn graveyard where there are flowers on half the fucking graves.
Yeah. Well, that's I mean, these people. I was going to say also believe in God, so I'm just saying. I
Whoa,
wouldn't.
well, let's not go crazy, all right? Like, you don't have to offend everybody.
You're right. We're being good. They do have some heavy hitters. We're getting there, I promise.
Sure.
The next one, this one's really cool and also not specific to Catholicism, but is mentioned by location. So by location is basically when a regular human is in two places at once. And this, in comparison to Catholicism, ends up being most prevalent where you'll have a priest who was at home just eating Cheetos and watching horror movies, but was actually also with a family helping them process grief or whatever. He ends up being in two places at once. And again, this is not specific to the paranormal. We have doppelgangers, we have astral projection, we have other out-of-body experiences. This is something that's just, people that near-death experiences, NDEs, they'll experience coming outside of their body but being able to see their body. I mean, bilocation is something, as a phenomena, we experience and see as a whole.
Crisis apparitions, I think, are my personal favorite. And also, I think you meant not specific to any particular religion, because all of that stuff was definitely paranormal.
Right.
Yes. Right. And I think everybody was picking up what you were laying down. So I don't think we should worry about it. But yeah, no, crisis apparitions are one of my favorites, where someone will see or be visited by a loved one at the moment of that loved one's death, even though they're physically they are miles away somewhere else.
Yeah.
So
that's really cool. A great example of that was we had talked about kind of messages from the dead, and the one was the guy was in the train accident and his phone kept calling all of his family members, but his phone was not anywhere near his body and he was definitely dead.
Right.
Even though I guess he wasn't there physically, I don't know. I just always want a reason to talk about that one because it's a really good case of something else happening. That is a miracle. And it's well documented. So
my favorite ghost stories, like my favorite ghostly experiences, are always the ones where someone is visited by a person they knew. Like, I am sorry, but I don't give a single flying fuck about paranormal tourism. I don't care. What is interesting to me is the real shit, the personal shit that happens to people throughout their lives, that is seemingly paranormal, involving the folks that they care about, like the real meaningful shit that happens to people. That is fascinating to me. And I've heard some good ones. I've experienced visitation myself, and I've heard many more good, interesting stories about it, but it just tends to get glossed over because we live in this era of fucking, I don't know, bullshit entertainment and tourism and crap.
Yeah.
But like, who gives a fuck about all that? Like, there's really fascinating shit happening with people being visited by their loved ones. And why wouldn't we be more interested in that? Because obviously that is something that affects us all and affects us very deeply and meaningfully in a way that, some fucking tour guide pretending like they heard something on a spirit box in some building that should be condemned fucking never will, you know?
Yeah. No, I agree with you there. There's definitely a lot more fascinating stuff out there than what you see on the television. That's for sure.
Right.
Yeah. So going on by location, like I said, it's interesting. We see it in other situations, and I'm sure we'll continue to see it in other situations. Healing miracles. I think this is also another one that a lot of people think of when they think of miracles. It's usually a medical miracle. And in the case of a healing miracle, somebody has some type of terrible, incurable issue, and they'll pray on it. They'll pray to a specific saint or what have you, and they will miraculously become healed. This is again not just specific to Catholicism, although they do tend to take most of the credits when it comes to them. It is odd that they do, but it is a marvel. It really is. I experienced kind of a healing miracle. I was diagnosed with cervical cancer, and after a couple of months of trying to come up with a plan and what to do next, it just kind of went away. And I was shocked at how the medical team reacted to it, because they were not shocked at all. They were just like, yep, it happens. And I'm like, what the fuck do you mean it happens? I'm like, yeah, it just happens. So they'll like biopsy, they biopsied me a couple times. And so they say probably what happens is in the process of them biopsying, they're cutting out the cancerous parts, and then now there's none. So pretty much I had it removed is what it is. But to me, I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, it's just gone. They're like, yeah, it's normal. It happens. I'm like, okay. All right, then. That's not as large scale as like somebody having their Parkinson's healed, or like me as a type 1 diabetic, if my diabetes was suddenly not a thing, like that would be insane. But I'm just saying there's other explanations for these things that I think are overlooked a lot of the times. And sometimes in medicine, it just be like that. You just get fucking lucky for whatever reason. And, call it divine intervention or what have you. But it seems to happen more often than we think.
Sure. Well, I think that's awesome. You know what I like about this particular subject is the positivity.
Yes.
Because that is in short supply when you are discussing the paranormal most of the time. It is so very rarely positive. But like spontaneous healing and you can get like further into that with like near-death experiences and things like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's just, they're generally just so much more positive. And I love that. I love that you don't have cancer. Like, that's great. So congrats there.
Thank you.
I love that for you. That's great. That is a great look. Yeah, I like the like miraculous healing stuff. So a good example of that is the Sanctuary of Our Lady of Lourdes in France, right?
Sure.
So they've got a spring there that is supposed to have been blessed by the Virgin Mary, and it's supposed to have like healing properties. And literally millions of people have visited this spring to get some of its water and try to heal them of whatever malady they have. I don't know how often it works. I would guess it does not have a super high success rate, but I still find that so interesting. And, I would hope, for anybody listening who's just like, yeah, but what about Western medicine? You can't replace Western medicine with, yeah, of course you fucking can't. Like, I'm not saying you should. I think that ideally you would have both. But I think that there is something to the idea of that hope, of ideally pursuing both, but while you are healing your body, you can't forget to heal your soul too. And I think that's where some of what we're talking about right now can come into play. Where, I don't see the harm in trying to find your own miracle if you fucking need one. I think people should. I think that is a valid way to go about it. I think that's a welcome, or should be a welcome addition to anyone's healing regimen, you know?
Yeah.
I just don't see the harm in it.
The mind is so fucking powerful, you guys, really. Like, not to get all like hippy dippy on you, but no, for real. I mean, there's lots of scientific evidence to prove that. I mean, just your way of thinking could, potentially sprout so many quote unquote miracles in your life. I mean, it's your mental health is so worthy of looking into, and taking on a positive, mental mindset it's really the healthiest thing you could do for yourself. It really is. It changes your life. So just saying, I mean, I think you have to, especially, and I'm not saying that people who have died of horrible diseases it's their own fault for not believing enough or, fighting enough.
Yeah.
However, there are many cases over and over again where people just look at people that live to be 100,000 years old. Those people, those
100,000 years old. Just look at them.
Just look at them. People ask them all the time, what's the secret? Well, why'd you live so long? And they'll tell you, it's just, living a good life and being positive and maybe cottage cheese,
Yeah. It's all just vibes, basically.
Right.
That's what every one of them has to say.
That is, yeah. And, then not all of them have some, super healthy general lifestyle. They'll be like, I eat a cheeseburger once a day. And then here I am, or whatever. I mean,
yeah.
It really genuinely is just their mindset. And so, I mean, sometimes with your medical health, that's going to play a part. So keep that attitude up. If you think it can't get any better, well, you just might be wrong. You just might be wrong. And God or Jesus or the universe or whatever you believe in may change it. I don't know, whatever the fuck you want to call it. But it does happen. It does. And you just have to wait for it, I guess. Wait it out. Believe that it will. So that's, we could spend a whole episode just on fucking medical miracles, in and of itself.
Easily.
Another kind of anecdotal piece that I have here, my aunt, she had a massive heart attack and she was dead. I mean, she was dead and she's in the hospital and she's hooked up to all these machines and the doctors are like, look, she's completely brain dead. She's never going to recover from this. She's always going to be on machines, pull the plug. And all of her kids were like, yes, pull the plug. Her husband wouldn't do it. And let me tell you, that woman has made a complete recovery without any issues following that. I mean, of course, some lifestyle changes because she's got heart issues, but, she can talk normal, walk normal, do all the things that she could do before. And there's no reason at all that she should be in that position. She should have died. And here she is. It's a miracle. It really happens.
Damn. I bet she's super nice to her husband now, though, right?
Right. Hates the kids. Will never forget it. Yeah, I bet that is an awkward conversation. We've never talked about it one-on-one. But I'll tell you, my Aunt Renee, that's her name, my Aunt Renee, she's always been a very, a very spiritual person, and not so much in the sense of religion, but she's had a lot of paranormal experiences and, she's a really interesting character. And I don't know if that has anything to do with it or not. Probably not, but who knows? But yeah, the woman should have been dead and she's not. Here she is, proving everybody wrong. So
very good.
Going on to, going down the list, I've got 3 more here and they are very cool. Very, very cool. Tobias, you kind of mentioned the one a little bit, but just by name. So these are apparitions / visions that take place. And this one also is a double whammy because it was a natural miracle that took place as well. That is Our Lady of Fatima. I know Fatima's correct, but man, Fatima sounds so much nicer. I don't want to call anybody.
I know. Well, you got to say Fatima.
/ Miracle of the Sun, and we can call it Miracle of the Sun instead of Fatima because that sounds cooler.
I'm saying Fatima.
Tobias likes his Fatima.
I
Tobias do. is a Fatima chaser.
Sure.
So on October 13th, 1917, something miraculous happened. There is a lot of build up to this story, but for the sake of time, I am going to tell kind of a condensed version of what went on here. We
have
may
to.
cover this on its own one day. But basically, it all started when 3 shepherd kids were visited by what they called an angel, which, let me tell you, I know what you're thinking because you guys listen to me in my show. You're like, oh, Mothman? No, not a winged humanoid, just a glowing woman, which is also really cool.
Yeah,
And
most angels in the Bible are not depicted with wings.
Yeah,
Most of them just look like normal people.
right. So yeah, and not a extra cool, biblically accurate angel. Those are really sweet. But no, this was just a very pretty, literally glowing woman. And anyway, so they were visited by this woman multiple times, and it wasn't just them either. Sometimes they would get other people involved, and basically this woman was like, hey, you should worship Jesus and stuff. And they were like, oh, that sounds pretty cool. You do glow, you must know your shit. Eventually, they end up having a meeting with the Virgin Mary and, herself. And the Virgin Mary had promised, look, if you get all these people together on October the 13th at this place, I will perform a miracle, to kind of prove what you're saying is true. Because they're going around over the course of like almost a year preaching gospel because they're having these strange experiences that crop up. And everybody's just like, yeah, okay. Again, this is really, really the condensed version of this story.
Right.
However, down to the miracle part. So on that day, a bunch of people had flooded the area because the newspapers had kind of picked up these stories. At the time, we had World War I going on. And one of the promises that were made was kind of a prophetic promise of the Great War is going to be ending soon. Just give your heart over to Jesus and we'll make sure it happens, basically. And the kids were actually kind of held accountable because they were seen as pushing political propaganda at this trying time of the war and things like that. So again, this was kind of a big story in the media. Bunch of people gathered in this one area. It was said anywhere between 30,000 to 100,000 people gathered to witness this miracle. Okay, on to the miracle. What happened? So it had been raining, right, that day, raining quite a bit. And as soon as they all show up and Mary herself shows up, she stops the rain, or the rain stops, rather. The rain suddenly stops, and the clouds start to break, revealing the sun. Except it was duller than the usual sun, and not just duller. According to different accounts, the sun itself and then rays around it that it was projecting everywhere were multicolored. So it wasn't just the big bright sun that you saw. It was also, changing colors constantly. And not just that, it was moving kind of in a more sentient way. It would actually play this really cruel joke on the people watching, and it would like careen towards the earth before, zigzagging back in place. Like, oh, I'm coming. Just kidding. Pulling back. And this went on. I mean, this dancing sun went on for about 10 minutes. Other things happened. People's clothes that were soaked from the rain, they suddenly were dry as if they had never been wet. The ground itself, all the mud was dried up into dirt. And again, this was a big event. Other things had seemed to happen to people, depending on the account that you're looking at. But it wasn't just like believers in the Bible. It was skeptics and journalists. And I mean, all these people showed up to document this event. A lot of them showed up just to go, ha, told you so, it's bullshit. And were humbled by the fact that there was this strange happenstance with the sun itself. Tobias, I'm going to take a break and let you talk for a second because I feel like I've been talking for a while.
Oh, no, that's fine. I usually don't have a problem butting in when I feel like I have something to say, but no, I mean, this is an interesting one. And this is one where if you are interested in UFOs, this is like the one miracle you've ever heard of.
Yeah.
Because this is such a celebrated case in ufology because of its similarities with so much of the phenomena reported within that particular field. You strip it of its religious narrative, and what do you have? You've got this spinning disc emitting multicolored lights that is giving off enough heat, like enough radiation in the form of heat,
Yep.
to dry people's clothes, to dry the ground. That is fascinating. And so I don't know. Like it's a really, really interesting case. I like it a lot. I, again, normally have only seen it in the context of ufology, but it is technically a religious miracle given the narrative applied to it. But even that Marian visitation, right? Even that is not uncommon in ufology. If you look at cases of like contactees seeing like or being approached by these beautiful, glowing, human-like figures, these holy seeming figures, is not unusual, or at least it wasn't in like mid-century America, or not just America, actually all over the world, but like, in the mid 20th century, that was not that unusual when you were talking about the UFO subject. So I just love it. I love everything about it. I don't know that it is a religious miracle, in that I don't think that it proves the validity of like Catholicism or anything. I think that much like most of the weird phenomena that we see either recorded as religious miracles or we see recorded in religious texts, it's really just a human narrative being overlaid on top of something that we don't properly understand. And I don't think that's any different here at all. I do find the idea of these people being approached by this strange glowing figure leading to a UFO sighting super, super interesting, especially considering, how many people were present and the skeptical explanations that have been put forth. Of course, I believe the most popular one to be the old chestnut mass hysteria.
Love that.
It was mass hysteria. Yeah. Where all these people just tricked themselves into seeing it because that's what the person next to them was seeing. And it was like people doing the wave at a fucking ball game, I guess. So yeah, I don't know. I don't buy mass hysteria for most fucking things, honestly. But yeah, no, it's a fascinating case. If the best skeptical explanation for something is mass hysteria, then that case is a fucking banger. Like, it. That shit is awesome.
My favorite is where they're like, well, yeah, it was just a bunch of fucking idiots that stared at the sun too long. Of course they saw weird colors. And it's like, oh my God, really? You think 30,000 people at the minimum stood there and stared at the fucking sun until they blinded themselves? I don't know.
Right.
I guess Trump is president, so it's believable, I suppose. But that's
just more mass hysteria. Like, that's the same explanation as mass hysteria, basically.
They're just staring at the sun, of course. And it's like, right? Are you fucking kidding me? Are you serious?
Look, everybody but me is stupid. It just is what it is. Yeah.
It is such an intensely well-documented case. It really is, with so many witnesses. And it goes beyond that. Like I said, this deserves its own episode, because the stories that came out afterwards, the other quote-unquote miracles that took place after these events took place, I mean, you had all of them, people experiencing all of them afterwards. And it's a good one. I like it. It's a good one.
Yep. It is a good one.
It's a good one. So moving on to what Tobias was spoiling earlier, I want to touch back on incorruptibility. Very, very cool. I'm just going to call her Saint Bernadette because I don't know how to say her last name and I don't want to butcher it. But that is my example that I'm going to use. If you Google Saint Bernadette, she will come up. So incorruptibility is basically, like Tobias said earlier, it's where, the most prevalent examples are a saint will die, and after their death, they seem to be preserved inexplicably, and there's really no explanation for it. Saint Bernadette here is our example. Go look at pictures of her. You can go look at modern pictures of her because she's on display. That woman died in 1879, and she still remains pretty much perfectly reserved to this day, despite the fact that they did not embalm her, allegedly did not take any further practices to try to preserve her body in any type of way. They were actually caught off guard because they ended up exhuming her. I think it was only like it wasn't too long after her death, but it was like 20 years at least, and found that she was preserved at that time. And then they exhumed her again, and they were like, what's going on here? This woman's not rotting. They have figured out that she does have some type of she's like waxy. She's got like a weird wax all over her whole body. And, the Catholics swear they didn't put it there. So that seems to be kind of what's preserving her. And she's got different ratio of salt deposits in her skin and things like that seem to be naturally occurring, but there's no real reason why that doesn't happen with dead bodies normally. It's not supposed to. So yeah, I think that's cool. I think it's neat. For whatever reason, I'd go check her out. I wonder. Yeah,
what the hell?
Smells like roses. She's got the odor of sanctity as well. I don't know.
Probably. I'll spray some around.
It'll take care of any problem.
That's right. Absolutely. I mean, you should, like if you could smell some of the unholy gases that come out of my dogs, like odor sanctity sounds about right. That seems like what you'd need to take care of it.
That'll do the job.
Right. No, I am a big fan of like incorruptibility as well. I think it is very, very interesting. I think it's one of those miracles because there are so many miracles like that where I'm just like, what is the fucking point of this?
Yeah, right. What are you proving?
This one, yeah, right. Like this one, I think that you could. I think there are layers to it. I think you could interpret it in a number of ways. I think one of the most interesting ways to interpret it in terms of like significance as a miracle might be as like a reinforcement of the idea of life after death, or a persistence, of consciousness after death, like that being a big theme of Christianity, like, don't worry, things suck now, but if you're cool, it's all going to be worth it after you die. Like that particular theme, I think can be expressed through the miracle of incorruptibility, where you see like, look at how great God is. He will even preserve the bodies of some of his most like ardent followers to show everybody that death isn't the end, and he's going to take care of you. So I'm not saying that is literally what is happening. I just think in terms of religious miracles, that interpretation of it is what makes it interesting to me.
I just think it's cool.
Yeah. It's also just pretty cool.
Like I like the little girl, right, that's been preserved for like 400 years. It's not been 400 years, but like I just think that's neat. Mummies are cool. This is kind of like that, except no intervention to get it that way. But yeah, it's just a neat topic. I think it's pretty metal. So.
Sure. You're like, look, I just like dead bodies. I'm not going to explain it any more than that. So
totally normal. Yeah, that's it's not weird at all.
Right, shut up, you're weird.
And this is my final one that I have finally. But this one, okay. Man, I deep dive this one pretty good because this one seems to be happening more modern day and has been backed by science in a strange way. This is the Eucharist miracle. Okay. So a Eucharist miracle is basically when the, quote, blood and or body of Christ really turns into blood and or body. So
gross.
So, they do this thing where you eat the host, right? And then you drink his blood or whatever. I don't know what kind of witchy
Taking
shit
the
they do.
sacrament, yes, we're all familiar.
Right. It's fucking weird. But whatever. That's what they do. And in some cases, there have been times where those items have, like I said, turned into real human tissue. This is a case that happened August 15th, 1996 at the Church of Santa Maria in Argentina. A consecrated host was accidentally dropped on the ground, and per the customary ritual, these hosts are placed in water and they're locked away and until they dissolve, and then they take the dissolved water, and I don't really know what they do with it. I didn't dig that far into it, but they dump it out, I guess, in the garden. I don't know. So they do that. They take it, they put it in the water, they lock it up, and they go, okay, we'll come check on it in a couple days after it's dissolved. And the priest comes back after a couple of days, and they notice that the host has turned into a bloody mass. And he's like, oh my word. Anyway, he gets I think the Pope at the time got involved and came and checked it out and took pictures of it and was like, yep, that's something. And then they kind of locked it away for the next 3 years and kind of checked on it periodically and was like, what's going on here? Is it changing? Is it growing? Right? What's happening? And it's
what in the junior high fucking science project is going on here?
They do their homework. They were definitely putting in overtime, locking it away for 3 years. So they pull it out after 3 years, and one of the priests decides to, cop a sample of it and send it over, because they want to investigate a little bit further. It's not rotting. It's not doing anything. It's just staying exactly the same. It's not dissolving. And they send it off to a scientist in New York. And they don't tell him what it is. They're just like, hey, will you test this and tell me what it is? They don't want to give any bias to what it is. And he tests it. And what he found was that not only was this human flesh, but it's actually a piece from the left ventricle of a human heart. Okay. So now I know what you're thinking. Obviously, a priest went in to a dead body and cut off a piece of the heart and stuck it in the water as a funny prank, because that's what they do. However, based on the white blood cell count of this particular sample, whatever piece this was from came from a live individual. This was not from a corpse. This was from somebody's real, genuine, alive, beating heart at the time that, probably isn't bleeding anymore. So one of two things is true here, okay? One of two things. Other people have also tested it. They come up with the same results, so don't just think it's this one guy and it's some conspiracy. This is fucking legit, and, it's crazy. So one of two things happened. Either, one, this is a bona fide fucking miracle, or two, the Catholic priest held someone down while they were still alive and cut them open and cut the piece directly from their heart, killing them in the process, which I don't really put it past Catholic priests to do.
I mean, they've done some pretty nasty shit. So I'm not going to disagree with you. I'm just saying, sorry, Catholics. I don't know. My wife's family is Catholic, and they're wonderful people. But, we all know that there have been some controversies in the priesthood. So,
I mean, yeah, a little bit. I'm surprised it took that long to bring that up this whole episode. We did okay by the Catholics this time. Not that they deserve it, some of them, but anyway, sure. No, but this is a real phenomenon. Very similar stories otherwise. There was one as recently as 2008. Like I said, these are very modern, whereas other stuff is a lot older. So this is why where kind of science gets involved here and can back up the claims that are being made of this being, miracle based in some type of way, because where the fuck are they getting this human tissue from live people? That you'd be going out of your way to prove something, I guess, especially for stories like this that aren't, because I don't ever remember, like I said, the most recent one being 2008. I don't ever remember hearing about that in the news. It's not like this made fucking world headlines or anything. And maybe it did in Weekly World News, but it didn't.
Yeah, right.
Anywhere else, so, again, they would have to, they'd be sacrificing a literal person for not a lot of payoff. It's interesting. I don't know, Tobias, have you heard of these before?
I have to say, I have not really. This is not something that has really been on my radar. So that's definitely very interesting. I don't know what to make of it. I guess I don't have a strong opinion one way or another. Um, yeah, I mean, literally, I'm looking at it. I'm honestly looking at it online as we're talking about it, just because I really was not familiar with this specific case. So I don't know. Yeah, I guess. I mean, if the Polish Academy of Sciences signed off on it, I don't know what to tell you. Shit
It
seems
is.
weird.
It's real fucking weird. It is. I mean, this really is. I mean, I can't fucking think of any reason why a piece of bread would turn into human tissue. Like that's out there. I might convert, after I wouldn't
Yeah,
do
right.
that, but it is really fascinating. Like I said, a lot of different people would have to be involved for this to, be a conspiracy at all, for this to have been hoaxed, and I don't buy that happening. Then again, there's a lot of conspiracy surrounding the Catholic Church in general. They're like one entity, not necessarily, separated by countries at all. They seem to be one big hive mind. So who
Right.
knows? But this is, I think, the most unusual and potential. You got something there, and that seems very specific to your religion, because I haven't heard of this. I haven't been able to find cases of this happening elsewhere. Not saying they don't exist, but I didn't find any in the week that I
Right.
had to research the topic.
Well, it doesn't, in terms of conspiracy, it doesn't have to be that deep. It could literally be one, because these people do exist. It could be a religious scientist who wants something to be, just like anybody, this could happen to anyone, who wants something to be true enough that they talk themselves into it, and kind of, make sure that their findings support the narrative that they want to see represented. I'm not saying that's what happened, but it's it is a possibility, and it is something that we would need to rule out, because you're right. When you try to look into this, the only sources for it, or at least the immediate sources, are all religious websites.
Right.
So it's not something that is, and this is what gives me pause, is it's not being reported by sources that I personally feel like I could trust to be completely objective about it.
Yeah. Yep. I agree with that.
And because that's the case, there's always going to be that little doubt in the back of my mind going, okay, well, you know, it's possible that somebody is either, if not outright deliberately doctoring this in some way, is at least so caught up in their own bias and their own beliefs that they are not portraying it completely accurately, deliberately or not, right? Like, even if they're doing it accidentally, there's always a possibility that their particular religious bias is coloring this story in some way, and so that's always going to leave room for doubt.
Well, because the unfortunate part about it is, like you said, it's not like there's a scientific journal written about it somewhere. But there kind of can't be, because in order for, if they are getting an unbiased scientific opinion, then yes, they'd have to send this over to a scientist without telling them what it is first, having them test
Right.
it, having them say what it is, and then send it back. And then are they then following up and letting that scientist know where it came from? Are they then
Right.
doing that homework? Well, that's interesting that you said that, sir, because this came from a piece of bread. You know, is that
Right.
what's going on? We would need everybody to work together to do that. But then if they get it back and they go, oh great, well it is a miracle because it's human flesh, so we're just going to leave it at that. No further testing is done on it, then we're probably missing a lot of information, because that's just what it says, right? Scientifically speaking, there's no way for bread to turn to human tissue, so something's got to be missing. So I mean, I agree. I don't think that it's wrong to have skepticism when it comes to this, but it's very compelling.
Yeah, pretty sweet. I mean, big if true, for sure.
Big if true, and you think if it was true, it'd be all over the fucking place. You'd think that they would be more than happy to work with scientists further to get something published about this to prove, in fact, that their God is the God, and this is proof of that somehow.
It also doesn't even have to be proof of that. It could be proof of, say, the human mind's capability of molding reality to fit its subconscious beliefs and desires, even. Like this miracle this is blasphemous, I know, sorry.
Right, and
sorry,
you're talking about witchcraft. They're not doing that. They're not putting money into that.
No, not on purpose. But I'm just saying, like, this miracle could be in expression of the human. Okay, this experience could be an expression of the power of human belief to shape reality, rather than evidence of some external miraculous force. That's what I'm saying.
I'm saying that this is definitive proof that when they do this, they really are eating the body of Christ, and they really are drinking the blood of Christ, and we should have a problem with that, you guys. They're just openly out there practicing fucking cannibalism, and we're just like, oh yeah, that's fine. What?
It's consensual, so it's fine.
Jesus, before every time they do it, shows up and says, yeah, this is fine.
There is a sort of like tacit admission, because when it all kicked off with the Last Supper, he was like, yeah, dude, this bread is like my flesh and whatnot, and that wine's my blood, so like it's cool, man. Like,
it's
fucking
been 2,000 years. You think Jesus hasn't revoked consent in 2,000 years?
Ask him.
I'm going to ask him. I'm going to call him up after this
next
episode.
Time you see him. You're like, Jesus, are you okay? Do you still consent? Blink twice for yes and once for no.
You remember the safe word, right? It's Judas.
Oh boy.
That's fucked up to make Judas the safe word. Oh,
it's fucked up.
Jeez. Anyway.
Don't get mad at me, guys. I don't hate Christianity, I promise.
I think that if you are that kind of Christian, and we're not even talking about Christianity, we're talking about Catholicism. So first of all, you're wrong. But second of all,
I'm not a big fan of organized religion. I'll tell you that for free.
I think that if you are offended by this episode, it's just sorry, man. This ain't the show for you.
Yeah, probably not.
Just not. I mean, really, this is it. It wasn't the Bigfoot dick or the alien autopsy vagina. It's this. Okay. I think you need to look long and hard in the mirror there, offended person. That's a lot to unpack. Anyway,
talk about alien cloacas all we want. Nobody cares. But you talk about you use safe word in one sentence with the name Jesus, people freak out.
And it's all over. So those are my miracles, again, based off of the Catholic guideline to their general miracles. I don't know if they'll ever add more, because like we talked about before, they did this big story where they're not really endorsing miracles anymore. They're not doing that. They're not putting any more time into researching these topics, it seems, and they're just done with it. So now we have to call Adam and have Adam do that, which I think that the next time one of these Eucharist miracles pop up, we should have Adam taste test it. Obviously.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. He has a very unrefined palate, though. I like to refer to it as having a baby mouth, where he will only eat like dino nuggets and Doritos, basically.
Mac and cheese.
So, mac and cheese, probably. Yeah.
Maybe peanut butter and jelly sometimes. I'm a mom, I know.
Probably, yeah.
Uh, well,
So good luck getting him to eat the actual like blood of Christ Eucharist miracle.
Nate would do it. He's not afraid of
Nate
anything.
would do, yeah, but
So
well, Nate's fucking hardcore. He doesn't
yeah.
give a fuck.
No, he's not afraid of anything. I think if you eat it, like you meet God. Like that's what happens.
Maybe I would do it. I'd try it. Just to see if that happened or not.
Try it once.
If it's like DMT, and you meet them. If it's like taking DMT where you meet the machine elves.
Yeah.
Only this is like you meet God.
And then Jesus is right there. He's got a big old chunk missing out of him because you ate it.
and then when you see him, you can make sure that he's still consenting.
Yeah, right. You're like, oh, sorry about that.
As long as he's there.
It's like, no, it's totally okay. I wanted it. It's my kink. It's like we talked about last week with that guy that got killed on.
Yeah. Some people are into that. It's not my place to judge them.
I'm just saying, if there's another Eucharist miracle, we need to know about it. We'll host an On Wednesdays We Talk Weird dinner, and we'll all try it together. It'll be a bonding experience.
Sure.
Tobias, do you have other miracles anything specific that you wanted to bring up before we start?
Honestly, there are like endless miracles we could talk about.
Yeah.
We are going to have to do another episode just on miracles, be able to fit them all in, because we're basically at time. So there's nothing that I have that is important enough for us to keep going rather than just do another episode.
Yeah. There are so many, and we've shared some examples of that, in this episode. But there's just, miracle is subjective. The Catholic Church doesn't own it.
Yeah, we made that very clear at the very top of this.
And obviously, most of the things that they consider miracles are stuff that, again, are just you can just call it paranormal, also, and people would be like, "Oh yeah, that makes sense." It fits into other aspects. They're not fucking special. I'm just saying. Sorry.
True.
So yeah, but it's neat. I had fun with it. I didn't think I was gonna have this much fun with it because I just don't like a lot of I'm not a big history girl. I'm just going to be honest with you. Like, if it happens, before the 20th century, I get bored. But like I said, I found out that this was actually pretty metal and it was pretty cool. So I did enjoy doing research for it. So yeah, we can talk about it another time. Maybe you, listener, have experienced some type of miracle and you want to tell us about it. You can join our Facebook group on Wednesdays We Talk Weird. Talk about it there. You can call us. We still have our phone line, 773-59-WEIRD, even though nobody ever calls anybody anymore, but you can call us. You can email us on WednesdaysWeTalkWeird@gmail.com. Or if you really want to get our attention, again, give us your money. Patreon.com/WednesdaysTalk. We can't ignore you if you show up to the monthly meetup and want to talk about your miracle. It's not possible. Just saying.
True.
So, any closing remarks there, Tobias?
Well, I hope people were a little surprised at my interest in miracles, because I think as a subject, they shouldn't be ignored. I think that they speak to an interesting set of phenomena. And I think that at the end of the day, as we very rightfully pointed out, no particular religion owns the miraculous. This is a human experience. These aren't religious experiences. These are human experiences. Mm-hmm. And I think as a result, we would be doing a disservice by not paying more attention to them. Mm-hmm. And so I think people should. If there's one thing, and really beyond that, if there's one thing that I hope people would take away from this, it's that it's okay to find positive examples of paranormal phenomena. And when you do, fucking cling to them, because they are few and far between in a field that far too often focuses on the negative aspects of humanity. To find something as positive as miraculous healings and rescues and incorruptibility and all of these equally weird phenomena that instead of speaking to a world filled with darkness, speak to one filled with hope is a beautiful thing. And that's worthy of consideration, and it's worthy of our time. And treat yourself, go find something positive, because I think all of us, not just you and I, but everybody listening, is probably painfully aware at this point of just how negative things have become.
Yeah, absolutely. I think those are all really fantastic points. And I like that, you make mention of how, nobody owns the miraculous. Just because it has religion in it, don't write it off, you guys, and be like, oh, it's religious, so it can't be true. Not necessarily. There are some really cool things in religion, and you should check that shit out, even if you don't worship whatever they're worshiping. You don't have to do that to be educated on the subject. Just saying. It's, anyway. Well put. And with that being said, we will see you guys back here next Wednesday.